The moment this game ended, the tone around the entire NFL shifted, because this wasn't just another December win. This wasn't just another playoff clincher. This was a warning shot fired straight through the heart of the postseason picture, and the message was loud and uncomfortable. The Houston Texans are no longer a nice story. They are a problem, and if you're in their path, you better be ready to bleed for 4 quarters. This wasn't hype. It wasn't media spin. It was the kind of statement that only comes when a team imposes its will in a game where everything is on the line, where pressure crushes most rosters, and where only the ones built with real substance survive. From the very first snap, there was tension in the air, not because the game was chaotic, but because it felt controlled, cold, deliberate. The Texans weren't trying to entertain. They were trying to dominate, and that's what made it so unsettling. Because when a team wins while still leaving you thinking they had another gear, that's when alarms start going off across the league. This is where the conversation explodes, because the Chargers didn't just lose a game. They ran headfirst into a reality they couldn't escape. They walked into a stadium knowing exactly what Houston wanted to do to them, and they still couldn't stop it. And the scariest part is that Houston didn't even need perfection. They didn't need fireworks. They didn't need C.J. Stroud to be Superman for 4 quarters. They just needed their identity to show up, and when it did, it swallowed the game whole. That's why the reaction afterward was so intense. That's why the analysts didn't mince words. That's why the phrase, "this defense is a problem," didn't sound like a hot take. It sounded like a warning label. And when you pull back the curtain, when you actually break down what happened, it becomes even more unsettling for the rest of the league. The Texans didn't win because of one lucky bounce or one blown call. They won because their defense dictated everything. They hunted, they swarmed, they suffocated, and when the Chargers tried to respond, tried to find rhythm, tried to breathe, there was nowhere to go. Every window closed, every escape lane collapsed. And that's how you end up with a game that feels tighter than the score suggests, but somehow still feels completely controlled by one side. That's where the conversation naturally turns to what this means in the bigger picture. Because this wasn't just a Week 17 result. This was a playoff preview wrapped in a warning. The Texans are now staring at a postseason path where they don't just hope to survive, they expect to compete. 3 straight years in the playoffs under DeMeco Ryans isn't coincidence. It's culture. It's continuity, it's belief turning into expectation. And that's when teams become dangerous. The discussion coming out of this game zeroed in on that defense, and for good reason. It's not just the star power, although that's obvious. It's the way the front and the back end work in unison. It's the way pressure arrives without desperation. It's the way quarterbacks never feel comfortable, even when the pocket looks clean for a split second. Denico Autry, Will Anderson Jr., the interior push, the linebackers scraping clean, the secondary closing windows like a vice. It all connects. It's not chaos, it's design. And that's what makes it terrifying in January. When analysts said, "This defense is championship caliber," they weren't exaggerating. They were acknowledging something that shows up on film and in body language. Houston doesn't panic. They don't flinch. They don't chase. They let the game come to them and then squeeze it until it breaks. Against the Chargers, that meant forcing missed opportunities, turning red zone chances into frustration, and capitalizing when mistakes inevitably came. Because pressure doesn't always create turnovers immediately. Sometimes it creates hesitation. Sometimes it creates indecision. Sometimes it creates just enough doubt for a quarterback to miss a throw, for a kicker to miss a kick, for an offense to settle instead of strike. And that's exactly what happened here. The Chargers had chances. They had moments. But every time the door cracked open, Houston slammed it shut. A missed field goal here, a stalled drive there, a red zone trip that ended in disappointment. And suddenly you're staring at the scoreboard realizing that you've left points everywhere, and the team across from you hasn't needed to be perfect to build a lead you can't quite climb back from. That's what made the commentary after the game so pointed. Because it wasn't about excuses. It was about reality. You can't beat this Texans team by playing sloppy. You can't beat them by hoping for breaks. You can't beat them by thinking talent alone will carry you. They're too disciplined for that. Too physical. Too locked in. And then there's the other side of this conversation, the part that makes the entire league uneasy. This team isn't even fully polished yet. C.J. Stroud didn't need to put up video game numbers for them to win. He didn't have to be perfect. He just had to manage the moment, make the throws that mattered, and trust his defense. And that's terrifying, because when a young quarterback can win without having to carry everything on his back, that's when sustainability kicks in. That's when playoff runs stop being flukes and start becoming expectations. The talk about the Texans improving their playoff positioning isn't hypothetical anymore. It's practical, it's earned. They're not sneaking in, they're pushing their way up. And with every win like this, the conversation shifts from, can they hang, to who actually wants to play them. That's a very different energy. That's when teams start scoreboard watching. That's when matchups start getting circled for the wrong reasons. And the Chargers on the other side of this are left staring at the reality of what went wrong. The injuries, the missed opportunities, the inability to establish rhythm, the pressure collapsing everything they tried to build. This wasn't about effort. It was about being outmatched in the trenches and out-executed in the moments that matter most. And when you're facing a defense that can rush with 4, disguise coverage, and tackle in space, those flaws get exposed fast. That's why the commentary zeroed in on how complete this Texans defense looks. Every level contributes, every level communicates, and when you combine that with a coaching staff that clearly understands situational football, you get a team that doesn't beat itself. That's the real difference. They don't hand you the game. They make you earn everything, and most teams can't. This is why the league is paying attention now. This is why the tone has shifted from curiosity to concern. Because the Texans aren't loud, they're not flashy, they're not begging for attention, they're just lining up and taking it. And that's often the most dangerous kind of team there is. As the playoff picture tightens, as matchups become clearer, as pressure intensifies, one truth is settling, and whether people want to admit it or not. Houston is built for this, built for ugly games, built for late season football, built for moments where execution matters more than hype. And when you combine that with a defense that can dominate the line of scrimmage and a quarterback who doesn't panic, you get a team nobody wants to see across the field in January. That's why this win matters. Not because of the score, not because of the standings, but because of what it revealed. The Texans aren't knocking on the door anymore. They're already inside, and they're looking around like they plan to stay.